It doesn't begin the way stories tell you. Not with fireworks or perfect timing, not with poetic lines or symmetrical circumstances. It begins in silence, in a stillness that unsettles you because something ancient inside you stirs and whispers. You've been here before. You don't recognize their face, but your nervous system softens, your guard lowers, and for the first time in a long time, you are not performing, you are simply becoming. Soul recognition is not romantic. It is cellular. It is as if a part of you that had gone missing suddenly returns. Not loud, not dramatic, but certain. And that certainty frightens you because it bypasses your usual defenses, the stories you tell to keep love at arm's length, the masks you wear to be wanted, but not seen, the walls built brick by brick from past betrayals. None of it holds. Their presence doesn't demand, it reveals. Not who you're trying to be, but who you were before the world told you who you should. You look into their eyes, and you don't just see a person. You see a mirror. Not the shallow reflection you offer strangers, but the raw, messy, pulsing reflection of your truth, the one you've both been hiding from and searching for. There's a strange calm beneath the chaos, like your soul is exhaling after holding its breath for years. And suddenly, the question changes. It's no longer, is this the one? But am I ready to be seen this completely? Because this kind of connection doesn't allow you to stay half alive. It doesn't let you perform your personality. It pulls at something deeper, the part of you that remembers who you were before you were broken. There's an ache that comes with it, an ache that isn't pain but recognition, a longing that's not for them, but for the version of yourself you only become in their presence. And the truth is, this kind of meeting doesn't complete you. It disrupts you. It unearths the parts of your psyche buried under fear, shame, and self-doubt. You don't fall in love. You fall into yourself, through them, because your soul knows this person is the key, not to happiness, but to wholeness. And wholeness is not comfortable. It is consuming. Their presence doesn't just touch you. It undoes you. Not in a violent way, but in the way a river undoes a canyon, slowly, deeply, forever. You may try to run. You may call it too much. You may retreat into old patterns that feel safer than being known. But something in you has already chosen, and that something will not let you forget. You will carry their energy like a thread wrapped around your ribs, pulling you back to what is real every time you try to shrink. Because this is not about romance. This is about remembrance. And once the soul remembers, nothing less will satisfy you again. When you meet the one your soul has chosen, you don't just find comfort, you find confrontation. Because the true soulmate doesn't flatter your ego. They challenge your illusion, not with words, but with reflection. And it is in this reflection that the real work begins. They hold up a mirror, not to how you want to be seen, but to how you truly are. All your cracks, your contradictions, the tenderness. You buried the rage, you suppressed the hunger you've masked behind politeness. It all rises uninvited, but undeniable, because their presence awakens what you've tried to silence. This ice and tea, the kind of love that lets you sleep. It keeps you awake at night, not from doubt, but from awakening, because you feel the gravity of what is happening. And you know, you can't unmeet them. You can't unsee yourself through them. They don't ask you to change, but they make it impossible not to. Because when someone sees you, really sees you, the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be becomes unbearable. You'll want to retreat, blame them for your discomfort, convince yourself they're too intense, too close, too unpredictable. But deep down you know, the intensity isn't coming from them. It's coming from everything inside you that they activate. They reach into places you didn't even know were locked. They stir memories, old wounds, half-buried desires, and that excavation is both terrifying and holy. You will be tempted to run, not because they are wrong for you, but because they are right. And right feels dangerous when you're used to self-protection. But the soul doesn't want safety. It wants truth. And truth is rarely soft at first. It breaks before it rebuilds. And they will break you, not with cruelty, but with precision, with their honesty, with the way they stay, with the way they don't look away when your shadows rise. And this is where you learn the real meaning of intimacy, not sweetness, not sex, not surface comfort, but exposure, presence, alchemy. To love a soulmate is to burn, not destructively, but transformatively. The you that meets them will not be the you that walks away if you let the fire do its work. And the fire will come in your arguments, in your silences, in your longing, in the way they won't carry your projections, in the way they won't abandon themselves to please you. Because this person isn't here to complete you. They're here to invite you to complete yourself. And that invitation will either expand you or scare you back into the smallness you've outgrown. But know this, once you've been seeing this deeply, anything less will taste hollow. And once you've touched this level of truth, you will ache for it in every encounter that lacks it. They are not your addiction. They are your awakening. There comes a moment when you realize that loving this person is not something you do. It is something that happens to you, like a storm moving through your life, rearranging the furniture of your soul, exposing all the hidden corners you thought you could keep untouched. And suddenly, the parts of yourself you considered unlovable are no longer in hiding, because this person sees them and doesn't leave. But the danger of being truly seen is not rejection, it's recognition. Because once someone sees you fully and stays, you can no longer deny your own complexity. This love is not polite. It is not gentle in the ways you expect. It is sacred violence, not abuse, not harm, but the violence of truth cutting through delusion, a kind that tears down walls you built out of fear and calls it liberation. You will feel naked, exposed, raw, because everything about you is now in view. And yet there is no judgment, only presence, and that presence heals, not with effort, but with inevitability. You will notice how they listen, how they don't flinch when your voice trembles, how they lean in when you rage, how they don't need you to shrink to stay. They don't soothe your wounds with false promises. They sit in the fire with you. And sometimes that will make you angry, not at them, but at the way they refuse to let you run from yourself. You may find yourself pushing them away, testing how far you can go before they leave. And when they don't, you realize this is not about losing someone, it is about losing the mask you wore to keep love predictable. They aren't here to fix you. They are here to remind you that you were never broken. But to remember that, you have to feel everything you numbed, every ache you labeled too much, every longing you exiled for the sake of acceptance. This kind of connection asks for your whole being, not the edited version, not the curated light, but the chaos, the wild, the softness beneath your survival. They make it impossible to lie to yourself. And that will undo you in the best way. There's no formula here, no guidebook, just a quiet knowing that you are no longer alone in your becoming. And when you wake up beside them, or far from them, and feel the pulse of that bond in your chest, you understand. This love is not here to decorate your life. It's here to remake it. And it already has. What they don't to tell you about finding your true soulmate is that love alone, I ascend to the reward. The real gift is who you must become to sustain it. Because being with someone who mirrors your soul doesn't mean disappearing into them. It means meeting them as a whole. And that's the paradox. The deeper the connection, the more solitude it requires. Not distance, but inner space. A sacred separation where you remember who you are outside the gravity of their presence. You are not halves finding completion. You are two complete, complicated beings meeting where your edges tremble. And some days, the love will feel effortless. You'll breathe in sync, move like water, words unnecessary. But other days, it will feel like you're standing across a canyon, both reaching, both aching, both wondering why it suddenly feels so far. And that's when many give up, not because the love is gone, but because the mirror has become too honest. You see their flaws, yes, but worse, you see your own reflected in the way you flinch when they get too close. In the way you shut down when you need to open, in the way your past ghosts suddenly start whispering again. You thought meeting them would silence your demons, but instead it made them louder, because now you have something to lose. And that fear will test you. You'll wonder if it's supposed to be this hard, if soulmates are supposed to challenge you this much. But real union isn't ease, it's evolution. And evolution is uncomfortable. The relationship will demand you grow, not for them, but to stay true to yourself, of loving another without collapsing into their story. There will be days where the silence feels heavy, where your wounds clash, where your inner child wants to run. But then, there will be moments when your eyes meet. And without a word, everything softens, because beneath the fear, beneath the fight, there is still the thread, unbroken, sacred, ancient. They are not your possession. They are not your certainty. They are your witness, the one who sees the parts of you that would otherwise die in darkness. And that kind of witnessing is not always warm. Sometimes it burns. But in that fire, something exquisite is born. The you who doesn't leave yourself this time. To be with a soulmate is to learn how to stay, not just with them, but with yourself, especially when the instinct is to run. And when you do stay, when you choose presence over escape, depth over distraction, real over comfortable, that's when love stops being a feeling and becomes a path only the brave walk. Eventually, you reach a place where words feel clumsy, where love is no longer something you explain, but something you inhabit. Because when you find the one your soul has been circling for lifetimes, everything becomes visceral. Your skin recognizes them before your thoughts do. Your breath sinks without effort. And in their absence, you don't just miss them. You ache in places you didn't know had language. But this love, this rare and terrifying intimacy, is not a fantasy. It is a crucible. The longing doesn't dissolve just because they stay. It deepens. It softens. It sharpens. Because now you not longing for what you don't have. You longing for what you do. And that's the most vulnerable place of all. The fear isn't just will they leave? It's now that they see all of me. Will they still choose me tomorrow? And the answer never comes through promises. It comes through presence, through how they show up when you are undone, through how they hold you, not just in their arms, but in their gaze, their patience, their refusal to turn away. And yet, love this real doesn't coddle. It doesn't protect you from pain. It invites you to feel everything more deeply, including your own shadow, the jealousy, the doubt, the fear of suffocating, the terror of being seen and still somehow not enough. You'll touch those wounds together, sometimes gently, sometimes with trembling hands, and sometimes in silence, just breathing through it. Because the sacred doesn't always speak. Sometimes it simply stays, and you'll know this isn't just chemistry. This isn't projection. This isn't longing born from lack. This is resonance. This is the convergence of two paths that never stopped crossing, no matter how many lifetimes it took. Their body feels like home, not because it's soft, but because it allows yours to finally relax, not from exhaustion, but from truth. You'll make love in a way that feels more like prayer than performance. And afterward, you'll lie there not needing to talk, because your bodies have already had the conversation your mouths weren't ready for. And sometimes it will scare you, the depth, the enormity, the absolute lack of control. But the love that asks for control isn't love. It's fear wearing a mask. This kind of love doesn't bind, it reveals. And what it reveals is your soul's true capacity for intimacy, not just with them, with life, with yourself. You'll start noticing how your laughter comes more freely, how your tears feel cleaner, how your no has more backbone and your yes more surrender. They don't rescue you. They remind you that love, real love, doesn't arrive to fix your brokenness. It comes to illuminate the places you already began to heal. It doesn't complete you. It mirrors your wholeness. And once you've tasted this kind of union, you'll never confuse attention for intimacy again. You will never beg to be seen by those who can behold the weight of your depth. Because now, you know what it feels like to be met there. And once the soul has been held that deeply, anything less will sound like noise.